So this presentation is going to be about 9 reasons that businesses benefit from social media. I want you to pay attention. You want to pull out 2 screens. And on the one side, you want to have this video playing. On the other side, you want to have the note catcher. The purpose of the note catcher is so that you get to listen to this. It's only 5 or 6 minutes, but you're capturing your thoughts. You're getting good at this because in the next piece of this unit, you're going to be expected to take these skills and put them to use. So this is how you're going to learn about this. All right. Good luck. Now, the first and most important reason people use social media in business is brand awareness. You have an instant access to the entire world, and 60% of new users do find new products through social media. So it becomes a real important avenue for gaining new customers and building a community. Closely related to that is this notion of humanizing your brand. When people know a person versus a company without a face, it builds trust. So your brand gets known for keeping its promises or at least being honest to deal with. And you create these authentic relationships. I don't know a business, a building, I know a person who works there. And that one on one connection is huge. Now, the other thing to realize is that it keeps you top of mind. You have to realize how often you pick up your phone and check your social media feeds. They know that too, and that's why they're doing it. And there's a reason for the engaging content. They want to be one of the people that you engage with because you're much more willing to spend money with them. I'm bringing in one of my clients as a case study in this because they really do this. This is a client that stays top of mind through posts like what you're seeing here. They just bring their phone into class, take photos or film of what the kids are doing, and post it online. The parents go crazy. They love it. So they're always involved and they feel like they have this constant tie to what their child is doing through social media, and that's great. Another big piece that people use this for, it's actually primarily my business, is to boost website traffic. By interacting with people, you give them diverse ad options. They get to know many angles of your business. It also increases your visibility and it does drive traffic. And to this day, it's still the place where people buy most of their online goods and services. There is selling that goes on directly through the social media platforms. I do realize that, but still the majority is being done through websites. So partnering with influencers is huge. One of the things they're doing here is they're doing this to gain credibility. They want to leverage the trust that, if they can get someone to endorse their product, and this is someone who already has 1 million followers, well, they just got free air or at least paid for air in front of 1 million people who trust someone. So the dollars spent to get influencers to endorse their products is worth it. There's something called social proof. It's a capital that you can't pay for, you have to earn. And that's something that happens when you work with influencers. For as long as I've been in business, I've always known that the most buying decisions are really made based on how a person feels. Even for all the logic that we get into, it still comes down to how you feel about a product. So you're building that kind of reputation and goodwill through social media. You're responding to feedback. You're engaging in these kinds of conversations where you're interacting with customers. You're building this image that you're professional, but you're also caring. You're also approachable. You're someone that people want to work with. And then in business, something is always going to go wrong. And if you have a public that's connected to you through social media in a positive way, you can deal with crises, with things that go wrong, products that are bad, dates that you have to close that you didn't expect to, because you can take quick action. You can reach a lot of people right away. You communicate with them directly, and you do tend to manage situations better. So even if it is a mistake you made or something that went horribly wrong, because you have this relationship, you tend to keep your customers. Now, one of the things that businesses love about social media advertising is it does give you a lot of insights into your customers. You remember when we talked about when you go online, you're not paying for the program because they're actually selling your user data, and this is what businesses are buying. They're buying the demographics, they're buying the decisions you make, and you use those insights to change who you're advertising to. So the dollars you're spending are going directly to the person that you want to speak to. Now, one of the important pieces of being in the social media scape as a business is to monitor your competition. Let me be really clear on that. Never, never, never badmouth competition, even if you think they deserve it. You will always 100% of the time come back at you. You'll start a war and you will only lose. I've been a veteran of this for over a decade. Trust me when I tell you, you want to be out there, you want to be interacting, you want to stay positive, you want to be good all the time. But you also want to know what your competition's doing, how they're interacting, how they're building their audience, because guess what? Success leaves clues. And if something's working for them, it will probably work for you too. Now, one of the reasons you want to have an audience is because you're also going to get involved in targeted advertising. That's one way of influencing people. It's actually buying leads. It's not always the best way to do it, but sometimes you really have to go there. And so this allows you to reach specific people, and it's a much more cost-effective marketing because you can really narrow down who you're speaking to because that's your customer. You can pick them on who they are and where they live, and that often makes the difference in terms of who you're selling to. And I wanted to pull in an example that I'm working on right now. This is one of my customers, and I'm going to redact their names from this just for confidentiality purposes. But this ad has been running for about 8 days, and in 8 days, they've spent about $50 to show their ad to 3,800 people, 71 of whom visited the website, and some of those have scheduled free lessons. Now, remember when we talked about cost effectiveness, this particular ad, if you dig into it, it shows me who I reached. It actually tells me how effective the ad is. It's telling me that there's like 860 people who've looked at the ad. So that's somebody who stopped long enough to watch the ad, and 750 or 64 of them, it says, they actually watched it for more than 3 seconds. It's a 6 second video. It's just a few pictures flying in. It's enough to catch their attention, but it's working because almost everyone is watching that ad. Again, if I can get eyes in my ad, I got a better chance of them clicking and I get a better chance of them signing up with my customer. And for example, this customer really, this client really wants to target parents and they want to target parents who live near their studio. It's martial arts lessons. So they need people who live locally, who have kids. That's who they're looking for. And so you'll see that my ad is showing between ages of like 25 and 45, 50, which puts me in the age of parents of kids from elementary school through high school. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And that's where most of my stuff is going in there. When I get into the 50s and 60s, I'm getting grandparents who often in this business will pay for lessons. They're showing within 7 miles of the location. You can see that. And you can see that you have to be 18. So this isn't going to show to, 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds, which makes a lot of sense because as much as I want them to come and study with my client, they're not going to be able to pay for it. So you want to attract the people who are going to pay for the lessons. One of the coolest things about building a strong social media community is the real time customer service. There's a problem that comes up with one of your most valuable customers, but they can shoot you an IM, or they can even pop something into a thread, even if you have to take it down later. It's much better to be able to take care of that customer right away. And it shows your public that you're responsive. People don't expect you to be perfect, they expect you to be professional and they expect you to be responsive. So you get this whole public problem solving piece too. Like, everything from there was a major disaster with a product to there's a blizzard and we got to close today. You can get a lot more communication done just by having your stuff go out on social media. It's an incredibly valuable tool if you can really build a community. You do what's called real time customer service, which makes for real live, seriously committed, loyal customers. Now, a lot of clients do this kind of work where they share blog posts. They basically become what are called thought leaders. So if your issue is selling is gaming, then you would be an expert in strategies about gaming or who the best players are or the newest features of the new editions. These are the kinds of things that you would be a thought leader on. In the martial arts field, they've got all kinds of content that we put out about best reasons to put your child in martial arts. Best reasons for adults to study martial arts, how martial arts builds confidence, how martial arts can help you at work, how martial arts can help you at school. Lots of thoughts about things that people might have questions about. You can promote it with videos. You can amplify all kinds of news and spread all kinds of company news. When the grandmaster of that system went to China, and he's been to China about every 2 or 3 years, he studies with the great abbot. That's always big news when he goes to the Shaolin Temple. It's the kind of stuff that keeps your people engaged with whatever you're trying to do. And an important part of this, and I'm going to tell you, I spend hours every month doing this, is you have to measure the return on investment. You're always in a business, you're always looking for someone to do what's called convert. That's when they go from someone who's a viewer to someone who's a customer. And that looks different depending on who you are. It might be someone who buys your game, someone who buys your product, someone who subscribes to your website, someone who becomes a student at your studio. It depends on what you're trying to do. That's your conversion. So you're spending money out for the advertising, you're spending money for the people who are keeping your social media afloat. And all of that costs you money. It goes out. When customers come in, that's the return on the investment. ROI is return on investment. You're going to track things like the metrics that I showed you in the earlier video, or the earlier slide rather, and you're going to analyze that performance and say, hey, am I spending less money than I'm getting back? Then I'm doing a good job because my advertisement's working. And the last thing to remember is to stay competitive. You got to maintain an industry presence and you got to stay flexible. Your people are going to tell you when what you're doing is no longer up to date. And there were things that I were doing 10 years ago that were cutting edge 10 years ago that are absolutely obsolete right now. So you just have to change. Things have changed in the last 6 months to a year in terms of practices. So you're going to pivot that quickly and that often. It's important to adapt to trends, to be out in front and be a thought leader in your field, to become an influencer as a business. So that's about all we have for hopefully your note catcher is full, but if it's not, go back and scrub through the video if you need help and just finish up that note catcher because the next lesson we're going to ask you to engage in some work you'll need that information to be able to do. Good luck.